Hello, everyone. And you know what? After looking at certain numbers, which we will go into, I do actually believe we could actually go up a lot faster than I had expected. And the thing is, like, I still give the all time high before the halving maybe a 30% chance, but the chance is it was a lot higher than it used to be. I'm going to tell you why. Because the numbers are really, really incredible right now. And of course, yes, last week I talked about maybe the Genesis people were selling. If that's true, this week they have actually stopped. And the inflow outflow numbers are very, very tilted. So GBTC, which is a grayscale, it's hit its lowest ever 22 million outflow today. This was the main outflow for Bitcoin in terms of like volumes coming in. And last week they had a lot of outflow for the grayscale. All of a sudden it pumped way up. And that was mostly probably because of Genesis. But this week it's over. Towards the end of last week, it already slowed down to 44 million per day. Now it's 22 million per day. And that is pretty much the lowest ever since it started outflowing after after the ETF formed. So Grayscale Spot Bitcoin ETF has seen its third consecutive trading day of slowing net outflows, hitting a record of 22.4 million as ETFs combined hit a 2-week net inflow high. So the net inflow, you can see the net outflows in terms of Grayscale. And you can see like last week right here, there was a big like revival in net outflows. Not like the first couple of days, but like, definitely like broke the pattern from the week before it. And I think like this chunk right here was probably the bulk of the Genesis selling. Now that's actually over. So that's why we actually kind of like drew back last week, sometimes by 1,000 points or more, I think. Meanwhile, the data for the inflows is all good. So basically, the combined net flows of all Bitcoin ETFs, besides Invesco and Galaxy, hit 515 million, the highest in 2 weeks. And that's just today, basically. So overall, the net inflows of 15.5 million and basically like 20 million now. You can see that's like $500,000, $1 billion of net inflows. That's why we went up today. And I think there was some mounting pressure from the end of last week as the net outflows strengthened. And you can actually see today that Bitcoin buying on the ETFs is not slowing down. Today was a record in terms of ETF volume. So the ETFs hit a combined inflow of 631.3 million on February 13th, but have struggled to maintain the momentum since, even seeing a net outflow of 35.6 million on February 21st due to comparative larger outflow day from GBDC and smaller inflows to other funds, but that has actually stopped. It looks like BlackRock was just waiting to buy. I mean, they didn't really get it at a much cheaper price because even with the price fluctuations, it didn't really, last week, it didn't really go down all that much. And you can see like GBTC, all these outflows becoming like last week, it was pretty big, 199, 137, 150, 174. It was coming down like before last week, 95, 72, but then it surged last week probably because of Genesis, and now it's way down this week. And you can see like even though the net inflows have come down a little bit last week, this week they're kind of like up. And February 15th was probably, it looks like it's the second highest day in quite a while. So essentially, like these right now, the inflows are basically reaching their peak numbers almost, while the outflows are basically like very small. So the net is very big right now on the positive side. And that's why we're actually going up right now. And I don't think that's going to stop because GBTC only has so much to bleed. And this particular ETF is a new ETF. And by the performance of the ETF during the first week, it does not show any real signs of abating. So like I expect no numbers within the 200s for quite a while, maybe 300s even, but like every once in a while I'll have these peaks like in the 500s. This was probably the biggest day in February at 515.5. Fidelity's ETF saw the bulk of the inflows on February 25th at over 243 million, accounting for nearly half of today's total. BlackRock was obviously the other half. It is also FBTC's second highest inflow day behind January 27th. That was like a day or two after it launched. So people are still very much fiercely buying from Fidelity and BlackRock. And the amount of buying really hasn't tapered off that much, but the amount of selling has definitely taped off. It's only dependent on things like Genesis, like bad situations like Genesis, to actually like bump it up every once in a while. And if you look at the chart, like even when they bumped it up, the net was actually positive most of the time. So like you can just tell by this that like it's just pretty, it's just like really, really, really massive right now. The demand over the supply. And remember, there's only 900 Bitcoins. There's really 900 Bitcoins mined per day, and they're sucking up tens of thousands a day. So even with like the miners selling, there's no way they can actually offset this. And like, remember, they're not the only ones buying. Like Michael Saylor is still buying, El Salvador is still buying, and other countries might actually just join in on the fun sooner rather than later. So, like right now, even without the Middle East getting in anytime soon, we could go up way, way, way faster than I had actually predicted. And that is good news for all of us Bitcoin investors. Some of you have posed the question, like, what does Bitcoin do? Like, can you use it as a means of transaction? You can use it via Lightning, but let's be honest, in the West, almost all of it use it as more of an investment vehicle at this point. So for that purpose, it's actually doing really well. And like in other countries, they do actually use it as a medium of exchange, but mainly via Lightning, which is perfectly fine, in my opinion, if they want to use it as that. And for them, like for some countries that want to use it as like stabilizing kind of like secondary option to the US dollar because their own country's currency isn't very stable, that's perfectly fine too. I got like absolutely nothing against that, but it's suiting our purposes very, very well. It is getting more adoption worldwide. And yeah, like it's going to keep going up for quite a while because I don't really see the inflows stopping. So that's what I wanted to tell you for right now. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.